Malcolm is the founder of Strange Phenomena Investigations, co-organiser of this conference. He's an author and lecturer. His books include UFO Case Files of Scotland, Paranormal Case Files of Great Britain, Monsters of Loch Ness, amongst others. Most of them are available at the back there if you haven't already bought copies. Malcolm's appeared on many radio and TV shows, as well as giving numerous lectures on various paranormal topics. He's an editor with Outer Limits magazine, and as previously said, he's hosting the Deshmont Woods UFO incident talk on August the 6th. Tickets available at the back there. But tonight he's here to talk to us about curses and haunted objects. So, ladies and gentlemen, Malcolm Robinson.
1, 2, 2. Thank you very much, Gordon. I'm glad you could all stay the pace with us today. It's been a magical event of various different talks and stuff like that. Some a wee bit heavy, some not so heavy, but it's all good stuff. Today, I'm talking about curses and haunted objects. There were so many different things I could be speaking about with all these things, and we've only got 50 minutes, as most of these speakers have got. So let's crack on. Anybody that's seen me knows that when I do a talk, I always like to let the people know who I am. For those that's not seen me before, you're not missing much. The aims of SPI are basically to collect, research and publish accounts relating to most aspects of strange phenomena, and to purposely endeavour to try and come up with some answers to account for what at present eludes us. And I'm the first Scotsman to lecture in the United States. That was Lachlan, Nevada. That's a great privilege. And also in Ireland, Galway and Carrick and Shannon, 2004. I do get about, don't I? France and Strasbourg, Utrecht in Holland, and also I'm one of the few guys in the world to have gone down in the Loch Ness submarine. Oh yes. And I've got a book to prove it in the back there, if anybody wants to buy that. I'm the author of 12 books. My latest one, Paranormal Case Files of Great Britain, Volume 4, will be out on August the 1st in Amazon, so do look out for that. Thank you. And again, anybody that knows me knows I started off sceptical. What a load of crap. There's no such things as ghosts and UFOs. Come on, behave yourself. And like I've said many times in my lectures before, Christ almighty, once you put yourself at the very in that ballpark. I mean, I've been slapped by a ghost. I've had my hair pulled by. Oh, nothing. That's when I stopped being a skeptic. That's when I came off that proverbial skeptical fence, when it happens to yourself. And I'm pretty sure members of the audience here today will know that you've got your own experiences, and nobody will tell you any different. Right, this is a pretty new talk. So today, if you can imagine this talk, it's a wee bit like an audio book as such. But we'll come back to that in a moment. So, as I said, so many different subjects. You're looking at, aircraft, trains, cars, etc. And these cursed objects are generally alleged to have been stolen from their rightful owners. But the stories behind why these items are cursed, they vary. They vary. And usually they're said to bring bad luck or to manifest unusual phenomena related to their presence, as you will see as we go through the talk. Are curses real? Can you really curse somebody? Is that possible? So what are curses? Well, they're allegedly magic spells placed upon people with the intention of harming them in some way. The intended harm can range from mere annoyance to psychological stress to physical illness, suffering and even death, and they're also associated with black magic, spooky stuff. So, as I say, there are way too many curses to talk to you lovely people today. So we're going to go through some which I hope you feel are of interest. What type of curses have we got then? There's an array of them. You're looking at black magic. You're looking at voodoo doll curses. Oh my goodness me. And then you can terminologize. Is that a word? If not, I've made it up. Because you've got jinx, you've got hex, and you've got a curse. And they're pretty much the same. I.e., they're created with the conscious or subconscious intention of causing harm, and they're pretty much as I said, and that's all. If you have a wee quick look at that, that's what they all entail. You don't want to be walking out here, be going, oh God, I've got a dodgy leg, is somebody sticking a pin in me? Witchcraft curses, yes. Well, But is it all wishful thinking? Is it all wishful thinking on the part of the person casting the spell? Does the cursed person only feel ill when they know that the curse or a hex is upon them? So in other words, if I was sticking a pin in Carol at the back there, hello, Carol, sorry about that. No, really. If she knew that, would she go, oh, God almighty, I've got, or is it psychosomatic? Is it all psychological? Well, some people would tell you not. Now, there are signs that people can use and dispel, allegedly dispel, to get rid of so-called curses, and the following are but some. One needs to have these signs on their person to get rid of that curse, to get rid of that hex, allegedly. So, you're looking at, this is the sign or the signal for reversing and redirecting curses. This one here, this little sign here, is to dispel and protect against all hexes and curses. Probably it's one of the better ones you would want in your person, if you believe in all that stuff, of course. And this one here is to reverse a curse, to send it back to the person who sent it to you. And it might have been a heart supporter, So I'm a Hibs man myself, but that's another story. Anyway, curses. Let's go through some of them quickly. James Dean. Who's aware of the curse of James Dean's car? Put your hands up and shake it all about. Right, just a few, so a lot haven't. As we know, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, James Dean was an iconic actor. He was at the height of his popularity, he was at the height of his career, and he was making movies such as Giant, East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause. I'm sure people of my age, 22, you've seen all these movies. Who's laughing? You've probably seen all these movies, and they're great movies. So, prior to the crash, before we get to the curse, prior to the curse, Eartha Kitt and Dean's former girlfriend, Ursula Andress, said that they felt this vehicle had a malevolent presence about it. And Eartha Kitt is reported to have said the following to Dean when he was out for a test drive a week or so prior to the crash. She said, James, I don't like this car. It's going to kill you. And around the same time, Dean introduced himself to Alec Guinness, the famous actor, and he asked his opinion on the car. Upon seeing it, Guinness said, the car was sinister. And if Dean got into it, he'd be dead within a week. Not nice at all. So, here's the story of the crash prior to the curse. He was en route to an amateur road race in Salinas. He was coming from Los Angeles. He was driving his brand new 1955 Porsche Spider, and you'll see a photograph of that shortly. He had just purchased it because he was into car racing. He was into, driving, etc. Now, he was accompanied by a guy called Rolf Luterek, who was a German mechanic who was sent along by Porsche to support new American owners, because this is a fast car, and you've got to have somebody that knows how to handle it and stuff. So he was there. Now, they took a route that caused them to pass through Shalom in California on Highway 46, and shortly before the crash, James Dean was pulled over by a CHP officer, and he was ticketed for speeding. Some would say if he wasn't stopped and he went on, would that crash have happened? Coincidence? Who knows? But he was stopped. 5:45, he was westbound, passing through the Y intersection of Highway 41, which was 1 mile east of Shalom. And at that point, here's the other guy, Donald Turnerseed, was driving a 1950 Ford Business Coupe. He turned left in front of Dean, and that's when the collision happened. James Dean was killed almost immediately. Luterek was ejected from the Porsche and found beside the driver's side of the car. James Dean was slumped against the passenger door, and that kind of sparked a long controversy of who was actually driving at the time of the crash. Now, neither Dean nor Luterek were wearing their seatbelt at the time. The mechanic was thrown for the automobile. He suffered a broken jaw and a broken leg. James Dean remained trapped in the vehicle, which was crushed like a piece of tinfoil, and you'll see photographs of that shortly. He was taken to ambulance to Paso Robles War Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 5:59. Very sad. The cause of death was broken neck, multiple fractures of the upper and lower jaw, severe head trauma, and massive internal bleeding. And this is what happened next. Because what happened next fueled speculation that James Dean's car was cursed. Or at very the least, it had a cursed afterlife. These few photographs you're about to see are the last photographs of James Dean alive with that Porsche Spider car. Very, very, very fast car. And sadly we lost him. Sitting in the passenger seat is, of course, Rolf Wutterich, who was the mechanic sent over by Porsche to make sure that anybody driving this fast car would know what the hell's going on. That's him there. That was 2 hours before he crashed. This is basically the area. You've got Shalom there, you've got Pasay Robles, and this is area Junction 41. There were actually 6 vehicles on the road at that time, and this is just an illustration of where people were. James Dean's car there, Clifford, John White, and Donald is coming up there, the man who crashed into Dean's car. This is the intersection, the actual intersection. It's there, and at that point, that's where the fatal accident occurred, just there. And look at that. That's a big muckle car, isn't it? That's a massive big car. Imagine that's, even at 10 mile an hour, that coming into you, that's really going to cause some damage. So that's what Donald Turnerseed was driving, this massive big business coupe. And that's the fella there. Was he to blame? Well, we can come to that maybe. Now, we're going to see, for those who haven't seen images of the car crash, if you don't like this kind of thing and you get a bit queasy, turn away, don't look. Now's your chance. So, this is the scene of the accident, obviously. This is that beautiful Spider car, 550, crumpled like a piece of tinfoil there. And here's another one there. You couldn't survive that, could you? Some people have committed worse things. Now, this one here, that's Donald Turnerseed's car, and even though that was a massive big car, it's taken quite an impact damage in the front there, as you can see from this slide as well. Massive. And that's it in the garage. That's the 2 cars in the garage, James Dean's and Donald's. And I think we can guess who that has been taken into the ambulance. Okay, this is 2005, but that area has changed very, very little since that accident in the 50s. Very, very, it's just, as you can see, it's hills and moorland, etc. So, that's a crash. What's this curse all about then? What's going on with this curse? How can a car be cursed? Come on, talk to me. Well, see what you think of this. Is what I'm about to say coincidence, or is that a curse? Remember what Eartha Kitt said to him prior to, oh, don't go in that car, Christ almighty, no, that's not, oh dear. So, after the crash, the car was sold to a guy called Barris, who planned to use it for spares. Now, upon the car's arrival at the garage, it fell during unloading onto a mechanic breaking one of his legs. Coincidence? Yeah, possibly. 2 physicians bought the engine and drivetrain to place in their own race cars, and on October 2nd, 1956, they raced their cars using these parts for the first time. One was killed in an accident, and the other seriously injured in another accident. So what I didn't understand, though, is why would you want to take parts of a car that's been in a car crash? That's another story. 2 of the tyres that was taken off the car was sold to a young man who later reported that both tyres had blown at the same time, nearly causing a serious accident. Souvenir-seeking fans tried to steal parts of Dean's car only to suffer severe injuries. And the California Highway Patrol decided to use James Dean's vehicle as part of a safety exhibit. Can you believe that? Safety exhibit? During one of the exhibits, the garage used to house Dean's car went up in flames. Wow. Strange as all the vehicles inside were destroyed except James Dean's car. What's going on there? When the car was on display at a Sacramento high school, the car fell off its pedestal, breaking a student's hip. Quite a few coincidences, if they are that, or a curse. The car was sent to Salinas, but on the way the car fell off the flatbed truck, killing the driver. Dearie me. 2 years later, the car fell off another truck, causing an accident. 1958, it caused another accident. All these are recorded, by the way. All this is in historic fact. 1959, the car was on display, and for no reason, it suddenly collapsed into 11 pieces. 1960, the car was crated, sent to LA, but it never arrived. Somewhere on the way, it just disappeared. What? Now, obviously, this is before it disappeared. It was on show. And I think it's had a lot of panel beating done to it because it looks a wee bit better there than what it was, obviously. But they put it on display. How morbid is that? You know, two people died in that car, for goodness sake. They also have called it the James Dean Memorial Junction. And a number of people go there even today as a mark of respect to leave flowers, etc., which is nice. We lost him, a lovely guy, an iconic actor. Just a young man, born 1931, died 1955, only 24. 24 when he died. God bless you, son. King Tut's curse. I'm sure a lot of us in the audience have heard about the curse, the alleged curse of Tutankhamun. Well, Howard Carter, as we know, everybody knows their history. I don't, but somebody told me this. He entered the burial chamber on the 17th of February 1923. Now, on the 6th of March, Lord Carnarvon, who was his financial backer, he was bitten by a mosquito, the bite became infected, and he died on the 5th of April. And that's when the rumours started to spread. Oh, there must be a curse. That's Lord Carnarvon dead now. When Carnarvon died, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who, as we know, created Sherlock Holmes, he announced that he was convinced that Carnarvon had been killed by the Pharaoh's curse. And the press began to put into the media, as they do today, and wild speculation was suddenly as done as fact. One newspaper even printed the following curse, and when written in hieroglyphics, this is what it said. They who enter the sacred tomb shall swift be visited by the wings of death. Happy days. However, there's no record of this phrase anywhere in the report of the tomb of Tutankhamun, and the inscription itself allegedly has mysteriously vanished. Okay, on we go. Howard Carter's pet canary was eaten by a cobra on the day the tomb was opened. The cobra was associated with the goddess Wadjet, who was the eye of Ra. However, Carter gave the canary to his friend, Minnie Burton, to look after while he was working. So that fateful meeting between the cobra never took place. Speculation into the press. Must be a curse. Let's go. At the time of Carnarvon's death, there were widespread blackouts, which is true, all over Cairo. Now, that is true, but it would be impressive if it was not for the fact that was common. There was common blackouts in Cairo at the time. Nothing to do with a curse. So, Carnarvon's dog, this is a big one now. Carnarvon's dog Susie, it had remained on his estate in England. Allegedly, it let out a mournful cry and circled his basket at the moment of his death and died. But the dog died at exactly 4 o'clock in the morning and was apparently witnessed by Carnarvon's son, Lord Carnarvon, died at 1:55 a.m. in Cairo, which would have been midnight, not 4 a.m. in England. Again, all this nonsense being put into paper. Great copy, of course. The Egyptians didn't write curses in their tombs. There were numerous spells, but these were intended to help the deceased pass through to the afterlife and receive food and other offerings, etc., in that afterlife. So there's no true evidence of any curse being found anywhere in Tutankhamun's tomb, even though the contents were fully recorded, and none of the 10 people present when the mummy was unwrapped had died. But was this so-called curse real then? Is it real? Is it? Well, this is where it gets interesting, because the 29th of August 1980, Richard Adamson, he was a military policeman, spent 7 years sleeping in the toon. The toon. Here, he's nothing better to do. To guard it. And he told the Daily Mail the following. He said that the curse had been proposed by a journalist at the time, and the archaeologists had not done anything to dispel that. And because the fewer disturbances, the better. In other words, oh, there's a curse, don't come near here, you might die. So they got on with their work. Great stuff. Gillette curse. What's going on here? We all know the brand. Very, very famous. So, marketing experts are beginning to wonder if their sponsorship to certain sports stars is causing havoc, is causing death, is causing disruption. And some of these people, and you'll see in a moment, it's all to do with the Gillette brand. Some of the stars that's allegedly befallen this curse are the following. Ex-Arsenal star Thierry Henry, and we'll tell you why in a moment. You've got the golfer Tiger Woods, and you have, come on, tennis player Roger Federer. Big names. How's the curse affected them now? Well, Tiger Woods, he was a golden boy of golf at the time, and he made headline news after crashing his car after an argument with his wife. We've all been there, haven't we, guys? Who said no? I haven't. So, you know, what's going on there? Then there was a shock defeat, for Federer, who hardly ever lost, the world's best tennis player. He was knocked out of the ATP World Tour by six-seeded Russian Nikolai Davdenko. Again, it's just speculation. It's just coincidence, surely. I mean, there's no curse. Come on. What is that? Crucible, the home of snooker, Sheffield. I've been there myself. And Stephen Henry was a Scottish guy anyway. He had, is it Stephen Henry? The pool, the snooker. Anyway, we had a big Scottish flag, and I put it over the boardings. And this security guy, you can't put that Scotland flag there. And so we got chased, but that's another story. I'm way off the mark as usual. Anyway, what they're saying is no first-time winner of the World Snooker Championship has successfully defended his title since the event was held in '77. This is attributed to a curse. Really? Curse of Superman. Where am I going with this? Well, you'll soon find out, boys and girls. We've all seen Superman. Now, this is a series of supposedly related misfortunes by people involved in the adaptations of either the comics or the movies or the box sets, etc. It's often invoked whenever misfortune is experienced by actors who work on the Superman adaptations. So it's very difficult to cast somebody into a Superman role. But if you're getting loads of money, I would do it. But they don't want to do it. For instance, Kirk Alwyn. He played Superman in 2 low-budget 40s serials, but failed to find work afterwards because he was too closely identified, of course he was, with the role. And as a result, relegated to voiceovers, commercials, and uncredited screen roles. He later appeared as Lois Lane's father in the '78 Superman film, but he had Alzheimer's disease later in his life. He died in 1990, at the age of 88. Lee Quigley. He played Superman as a baby in the '78 film. He died in 1991 at the age of 14 of solvent abuse. There's more to come because is this a curse related to anybody who goes near that? George Reeves played Superman 51. He did the ensuing television series Adventures of Superman. And like Alwyn before, he was closely associated with the role. And he couldn't find any other work. He couldn't get any other work. And in the days before he was to be married, he was found dead of a gunshot wound with a Luger gun, which was near him. Now, his death was ruled as a suicide, but controversy surrounded the death, as Reeves' fingerprints were never found on the gun. He had been having an affair with the wife of MGM executive Eddie Mannix. It was Reeves' death that inspired the conspiracy theories, and this so-called urban legend began its fruition, associated with the character. We all know Christopher Reeve. He's probably more famous for the role of Superman. I won't mention all his movies there, But again, like Alwyn, Kirk Alwyn, he was so closely identified, it's like he couldn't get any work. It's like people coming out of Coronation Street or EastEnders, we just know them for that. And will they move, will they morph to another series and be accepted, or he doesn't look right in that role? It's difficult. Christopher Reeve, as we know, he was paralysed, again getting back to the so-called curse. From the neck down, he was thrown from his horse in a cross-country equestrian riding event in 1995, and he died October 10th, aged just 52. Dana Reeve, still with a curse. She was the widow of actor Christopher Reeve, who, despite being a non-smoker, died of lung cancer in 2006 at the age of just 44. We talk a real curse here. What's going on? Margot Kidder played Lois Lane opposite Christopher Reeve. She had bipolar disorder. She went missing for several days and was found by police in a paranoid, delusional state. She died on May 13, 2018 in Livingston, Montana, after a drug and alcohol overdose. Her death was ruled as a suicide. Richard Pryor, villain Gus Gorman, played Gus Gorman in 1983. 3 years after he'd done Superman 3, he was announced that he had diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and he died of a heart attack on December 10, 2005 at 65 years of age. Brothers Mark and Dave Fleischer of Fleischer Studios, who produced the Paramount Superman cartoons, began to quarrel with one another, and their business suffered financial disaster after selling to Paramount Studio. The new owners fired the two brothers. Max died in poverty in a film industry charity hospital. That goes on. Alison Mack played Chloe Sullivan in the TV series Smallville. She was accused of sex trafficking and forced human labour and was arrested in April 2018 and on those charges. And it was speculated whether what was happening to her was part of this curse. Even the people who did the DVD box set, 3 people who were involved in the Superman Returns DVD were injured. One of them fell down the stairs, another was mugged and physically assaulted, a third smashed into a glass mirror, and the director says, "Looks like my DVD crew have absorbed the curse of Superman." So before we go to the next bit, is this just speculation? Is this just coincidence? Or are they truly a curse? And if so, who put the curse there? Now we look at Rudolph Valentino and his cursed ring, and what goes on with here was, what happened with this ring is, it came from a long series of misfortunes. 1920 movie star Rudolph Valentino bought a plain silver ring, embedded with a semi-precious stone from a jewellery store in San Francisco. He immediately fell in love with the ring and ignored the store's owner warnings that it was cursed. Why would you sell somebody a cursed ring? Oh, it's cursed, you might not like it. But that's what he said. So, he wore the ring while filming a movie that was a complete and utter failure. After putting the ring away for many years, he finally took it out, what would be his last final movie, and he died shortly after, still wearing the ring. It was then passed along to Paolo Negri, one of Valentino's former lovers, who suffered a severe illness but recovered. However, her career after this illness was over. She passed the ring on to a young singer, Russ Colombo, who died in a shooting accident. Next, Colombo's friend Joe Castino wore the ring and died in a car accident 1 week later. James Willis attempted to steal the ring but was caught by police and shot. The list goes on. At least 3 more people who owned this ring died when it was in their possession. So, is that truly a cursed ring? Could be. Merlin's Oak, here's another one, another strange one. Now, this relates to a curse from the alleged wizard Merlin, from the Arthurian legend. It says that the town of Carmarthen is said to be the oldest town in Wales. So old, in fact, its very origins have been linked to Merlin, given rise to the town's name. A large oak once stood in the town, believed to have been planted by the wandering wizard. Here's where the curse comes in. A prophecy accompanied this ancient tree, stating, "When Merlin's oak comes tumbling down, then shall fall Carmarthen town." After years of decay, the tree was removed. The very next year, the town suffered a train derailment. Not just that, it also attributed to severe flash flooding, and a branch taken from the tree is still displayed in the local museum. Again, is it a curse? Is it coincidence? Maybe it's a bit of both. Haunted objects. Big part of my life is this subject. I love it dearly. Now, Rabbit in the Mirror. Here's a wee crazy story for you. Wait to hear this one. So, this guy here on the left is Frank J. Mackay, who was with SPI right at the very start. We were on holiday, and Ron and I met him. We had meetings in Stirling. What a great guy. As a young man, he was a projectionist in the Stirling cinema. And one evening, his mother says to Frank, "Come here. What? Do you see anything in this mirror?" That's not his mother, that was just somebody I put up there. "Do you see anything in this mirror?" "No." "Go closer, have a look. Look closer." And what happened was, as Frank approached the mirror, say for instance it was there, he went, "Jesus Christ." What he saw, and I know that this is why I love the paranormal so much, it's so bloody bizarre. That's why I love it. He saw in this mirror this blue wee rabbit with a pink bow tied round its neck. And he's like that. And he's looking back, there's nothing there, nothing behind. And I said, "What's going on here?" So in the top right-hand corner of the glass, this is what he said. His words: "I saw the vivid glowing image of a cuddly toy rabbit. It was sitting in a low crouched position. It was light blue colour with a large bowed pink ribbon on its neck, solid in appearance as any reflected object could be. Around it was a strange phosphorescent glow all around it. There were no such object, as I said a moment ago, behind him, none at all." Several times he moved forward, then he moved back to the alcove, and he noticed that the closer he got to the mirror, the less the image became. In fact, at about 12 inches from the glass, only the merest trace of the outline of the rabbit was discernible. What's going on there? Then, after about 20 minutes of the manifestation, it's easy for me to say, the image of the toy rabbit began to fade, and within 5 minutes, it was completely gone. So 1 minute it's there. There you are, rabbit. It's gone. So, how is this possible? How can you have something in a mirror and you look behind you and it's not there? What's going on here? How is that possible? Well, here's a wee interesting fact for you. Because they got that mirror from an old curio shop in Stirling. Right? Oh, that's not the curio shop. That's just an illustration of that type of curio shop you got back in the day. So that's where they got it from. But it gets better. Because the owner, when they went back, he said, "Oh yeah, that was stored in there. I took up there, Christ, aye. It was next to all these cuddly toys, and there it's there." He says, "Aye, we do have a blue rabbit with a pink." How did that impregnate into the very fabric of the mirror? It's crazy. Now, it's said that there's a ghostly phantom car. There are cars, ghostly cars, planes, boats, on the road between Broadfoot and Portree in the Isle of Skye. And the reports say this ghostly car go way back to the 40s. And people have recorded seeing this car, and you'll see a photograph of the illustration of it at the moment. It's fast moving, it's coming up the road there. There's Broadfoot and Portree. And when it gets close to the driver, oncoming driver, disappears. It's gone. Absolutely gone. Now, it's speculated that the driver of this ghostly Austin 7 was a local church minister who apparently lost control of his mind and was racked by guilt after having been involved in a fatal accident. So the story goes. That's exactly what that Austin 7 car looks like. So if there's anybody in the audience has been on that stretch of road and you've seen a ghostly car like that, let me know. Let me know. I'd be interested to find out. Haunted objects, aircraft now. As I said, there's so many haunted cars. We're here all day. Eastern Airlines Flight 401, scheduled flight, New York, JFK to Miami. Shortly before midnight, December 29, 1979, the TriStar crashed into the Florida Everglades, causing 101 fatalities. 75 people thankfully survived. Now, so what's happening with this one then? Reported hauntings were said to be seen only on the planes that used the reused spare parts. What the hell? And you want to take parts of a plane that's crashed and put it into another aircraft? Surely that can't be right. So when these parts went onto another aircraft, people started to see ghosts. The spirits of Don Repo and Bob Loft started to appear on other similar aircraft, only with the parts used from that. Eastern Airlines management warned employees that they would be dismissed if they started to spread these rumours, because obviously it's a financial concern. You don't want people, oh no, I'm not going on your aircraft, it's bloody haunted. You can't do that, you know. And the vice president of Eastern Airlines, he boarded a flight from New York, chatted with a pilot who assumed he was in charge of the sector, and later he recognised that pilot he'd been speaking to as none other than the deceased Bob Loft. Oh, he's dead. I was speaking to him. Dead. Another time, a captain was asked to check a passenger who was sitting in first class. He was wearing a pilot's uniform, and the flight attendant said he looked a wee bit dazed and a wee bit unresponsive, and he was not on the passenger list. What's going on here? The captain recognised him as being none other than Bob Loft, who died on that flight 401. Talking to him, wearing his suit. That's what people think ghosts are whimsical, see-through. No, they're not. Some of them appear right solid. But that's another story. Flight attendant on a New York to Miami, the same route of that December 72 crash, she opened up an overhead locker, and who's staring back at her? Bob Brady Love. Imagine you're going on holiday, oh, let's put the case up. Oh, Jesus Christ. And go stare, man. On another flight, a flight attendant is said to have seen Dawn's face on an oven door. She called two of her fellow crew members to witness because I'd gone daft here. Come here. Who's that? And he was there. The ghost of Dawn was there. Eventually, all of the salvaged parts were removed from all the other aircraft. Thank God for that. And neither Dawn or Bob were ever seen again. People of my age may have got this book back in the day, quite a famous book. And there's also another book, Return of Ghost Flight 401, by his wife, Mrs. Fuller. Haunted mirrors. We saw about the bunny there in the other one, but this is a different one. There's a haunted mirror inside Myrtle's plantation in Louisiana. It's allegedly, so they say, one of the most haunted mansions in the United States. They're going to say that anyway, aren't they? The plantation goes back to 1796. It was built on Native American burial ground. Not a place to build a home, I would guess. But there you go. 10 murders are said to have occurred at the plantation. Paranormal activities occurs daily for the guests residing at this lovely B&B. 1980, a mirror was added to the home and placed in one of the hallways. Now, as guests walked by this mirror, they could see figures in the mirror, and reflect, not just their own reflections, but figures, and also childlike handprints would appear as well. Now, legend states that Sarah Woodruff and her children who owned this mirror, Sarah and her children were poisoned to death in their home. So could this be why there's sometimes these small child handprints left in this mirror? Custom dictates that mirrors should be covered after a person dies or near it. This is so that the spirit or spirits do not become trapped within the mirror. But this evidently was not the case in this plantation. Allegedly, that's a photograph of a ghost there, but anybody that knows me, 99 out of 100 photographs that get sent to SPI, I think it's simulacrum, pareidolia. You'll see what you want to see. Oh, look at that cloud up there, it's like a face. Oh, I saw it is. The human brain is hardwired to make shapes and faces out of nonsense. I love this story. So I'm glad you are sitting comfortably, because you may want to have a wee think about this. Haunted chair from Thirsk in North Yorkshire. Here's the story. This guy here, Thomas Busby, was a man, he enjoyed a odd drink or five, something like myself and Alien Bill there at the back. And he was regularly seen in his favourite pub, sitting in his favourite chair. Well, we all know that we're going to pubs, you can't sit in that chair, Paul, that's Tom's chair, you better not sit there. You'll probably know it. Some of your friends will tell you about it once you leave here. So he was not a man to be trifled with. You don't want to sit in his chair. Oh Christ, don't sit in his chair. He had a quick temper as well. So what happened was, it was his bravado, this guy's quick temper, it was to cost him dearly. The summer of 1702, Daniel Otway, Busby's father-in-law, riled Busby by using his chair without his permission. Busby found him, so you're sitting in my bloody chair, are you? And a blazing row took out between the two men. And later that same night, Tom Busby went to his father-in-law's house, dead, killed him. So, this is where it all happened, in this pub here in Thirsk, Busby Stoop. So, a quick trial was Tom Busby found guilty as charged. Death by hanging was the sentence. But as a show of leniency, they granted him a final request. And Busby chose, I want a final drink. I want to have been that long. Naturally enough, Busby selected his renowned chair. I want my favourite drink in that chair. And they led it off. Before they led him off to get hung, here's what he said. He said the following: "Death shall come swiftly to anyone who dares." Don't you dare sit in my chair. Nobody takes any heed of that, of course. So, the first recorded victim of this curse is an unnamed chimney sweep who had no other option but to sit in Busby Stoop's chair. It was the first time in decades it had been used, so perhaps no parlance was given to, obviously, the warning uttered by its former owner. Several minutes after finishing his break, returning to work, he fell off a roof to his death. Deaded. Gone. Curio. Over the course of the next couple of centuries, people dared each other, go and sit in that chair, go and sit. I mean, actually, I would sit in the chair, that's how daft I am. I really would, and I'm not joking, I would. Because I love testing things, that's me as a researcher. Anyway, many people refused to sit in the chair. Numerous Air Force officers bravely accepted the challenge. Few failed to notice that they never came back. But of course, it's war. You know, in 1967, after the war, a pair of RAF pilots took on the chair. Right, come on, what's this curse all about? Let's sit in this chair. When they left the place, car crashed, bang, dead. Buried. Now, the landlord decided enough was enough. And there's so many more I could have said. Enough was enough. This is getting crazy, this is getting silly, we've got to do something about this. And because it was enticing daredevils for miles around, come on, let's forget that, going to the snooker, let's do this. So they put the chair down in the basement, and it remained in the basement for several years. But that wasn't good enough, not at all. Because a bricklayer contracted to work in the pub, noticed the chair tucked in, is there a chair there? And he decided to sit in it. As you do, you need a wee rest. That very afternoon he fell to his death. So it would appear that nobody who sat in this chair could get away with it. Other deaths and misfortunes were as follows. There were a roofer who was working on the roof when all of a sudden the roof collapsed beneath him. Buried. This poor lady here, that's not her. That's just a photograph I found behind a chair. Then there was a cleaning woman who was cleaning the area where the chair was stored. She actually stumbled onto the chair. She never sat in it, and she later suffered an aneurysm and passed away. Then there was a tragic death related to this chair. A delivery driver crashed his delivery van between deliveries within an hour of encountering sitting in this chair. Cheerio. It got so bad that they decided, oh Christ almighty, we're going to do something with this chair. So they raised it up, and anybody that sat in that chair, 63 people in total, by the way, died under mysterious and tragic circumstances. But it could be coincidence. Might not be a curse. Coincidence. So the landlord contacted the Thirsk Museum. He said, look, take this bloody chair off our hands here. I will take it, the museum said. So they actually put it on display, and it's hanging 6 feet off the ground now. And I'm wanting to go down there tomorrow and bring that down while it's sitting there, because like I say, I'm a researcher. I want to test these things, and if I'm not here next year, you'll care I've sat in that chair. Oh, spooky paintings, spooky paintings. Right, okay. Some of you may know of this one. This is a scary painting owned by a Sean Robinson, no relation. He said that he found the painting in his grandmother's basement as a child, and he got obsessed by it. He thought, oh, this is weird, but he became obsessed. He would stare at it for hours and hours and hours. When his grandmother died, she left it to him, and he brought it into his own home. And that's when the spooky stuff started to happen, when he brought it back. So, he and his wife started hearing weird noises. Doors would shut, poof, bang, come close of their own accord. Paranormal events were transpiring all over the family home. And when he actually researched the painting, is it a painting? Let's find out about this painting. He found that it was completed by an artist some hours before he committed suicide. And he actually allegedly used, his own blood for the painting. So the story goes. The crying boy paintings. These are paintings back in the 70s when I was a lad. You had this painting in most people's houses. And allegedly there was this kind of a curse associated with it. But it was mainly came through the Sun newspapers. Now these haunted boy paintings were a series of 65 individual paintings, not just of that wee guy, and you'll see some more in a moment. Fearful Boys, it was painted by Giovanni Bragolin. Nobody knows why he stuck to painting just wee boys. This is one of them again. The 1980s, a report in the Sun said that there have been several devastating house fires that claimed the lives of people. Now, when the whole house burned down, the painting was fine. House is in shreds, it's all black, apart from the painting. Now, again, if that's a coincidence, we'll never know. These are just some of the crying boy paintings that the Italian artists do. And again, there's so much to this story, and there's so many facts associated with this story that it's mind-blowing, it really is. Haunted dolls. Before I get into this story proper with Robert the Doll and Annabelle, etc., again, even though I believe in life after death, etc., because the evidence is too bloody overwhelming. Incredible evidence. Yes, there's a lot of nonsense out there. Absolutely. Haunted dolls. I buy this off eBay. It's a haunted doll. Well, it might not be. It's just somebody trying to get kids you on and sell dolls. And they're not haunted at all. I'm not saying that dolls are not haunted or got this kind of karma associated to them. But don't buy haunted dolls off the internet. You don't know what you're getting. 1896, the Otto family from Florida, they're celebrating the fourth birthday of their son Robert. And one of the servants got him a gift. It was a large doll, and he called it the doll Robert, same as him. And nobody thought anything of it. We doll, we sailor suit, lovely. And then strange things started to happen, as they do when they're in this subject. People reported seeing Robert talking to the doll in dark rooms. He was giggling hysterically. He would often be accompanied by a deep baritone voice. In other words, he's giggling, there was a voice, a big, heavy voice in the room as well. 5 minutes, you're joking. Anytime anything went missing or was smashed, the doll was blamed. Robert, the doll, was placed in the attic, where he was seen moving to window. A new family bought the house in 1976. The first person to find the doll ended up fainting with fright, saying the doll spoke to her and told her it was going to kill her. Oh dear. That's nice as well. Donated to a Florida museum. It sat behind a glass window, and well, I won't read all that. We've got 5 minutes. I want to go through some quickly, other ones. Annabelle the doll. A lot of you probably in this audience today has heard about this one. Right, the true story of this Annabelle the doll is, it was a gift to a girl called Donna in 1970. Donna and her college roommate reported finding the doll in various positions. They even found bits of paper with childish writing on it as well. And a psychic said, this doll is possessed by a spirit of a girl called Annabelle, who actually allegedly died in a fire. So there it's there. And Donna's friend Lou had never been fond of the doll. She warned Donna to get rid of it. And one night, his warnings came true. Waking from a deep sleep, Lou found to his horror that he was completely paralyzed. Looking down at his feet, he saw the doll Annabelle. The doll began to slowly glide up his leg, moved over his chest, and then stopped. And within seconds, crazy story, this doll, this woolen doll, was apparently strangling him, paralyzed. He was gasping for breath. He blacked out, and he's certain that it was not a dream. The girls reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren, paranormal investigators. A lot of you will know of these. And they said it's a conduit. It's a conduit for demons. For demons. So they put it in this glass case up there, out the road, as you do. I've only got 5 minutes. I'm going to just spin by some of these just now, because it's pretty much the same. This is Anna Barker. She was the daughter of the rich iron magnate Ellis Baker. Anna had the misfortune of falling in love with an iron worker at the dad's factory, and even went out and had a wedding dress commissioned. When the father found out, he had the worker run out of town and forbid Anna to marry someone of a lower class. She spent the rest of her life in a room, heartbroken and alone. She died in 1914, and when the mansion was turned into the museum in the 1970s, Anna's dress, this is a strange bit, Anna's dress was put on display, and when it was put on display, that's when strange things started to happen. Strange voices, sounds, movement. They claimed the dress would dance in the cabinet, and they heard the sound of a heartbroken woman dancing alone, etc. I think I've only got a couple of these to go, Gordon. Haunted Dr. Seuss book, a kid's book. What's going on here? Well, this is in the West Virginia's National Museum. They've got a lot of haunted dolls, various cursed and haunted objects, but the one that takes the biscuit, and this one is a Dr. Seuss book, owned by a family that claimed every time their daughter read it, they could hear children's voices whispering in the dark, and they felt as if they were being watched. A paranormal investigator checked the book, and it's found to have come from a house where there had been a quadruple homicide, and that the red stain on the book, the cover of the book, was from blood. Needless to say, no one has been reading it since. It sits in a glass case. That's good timing. Summing up. I could have said so much more about this. We've only got 50 minutes. Summing up then, how do we go about this? Are curses real? We could all be 50-50 on this. We could all have our own ideas. For me personally, I think the desire to believe in curses may, with some people, may make the body break down and cause various illnesses just by pure thought alone. Some would call it like the placebo effect. And the placebo effect, as we know, chalk pills, the real pill, do a test, and it's there. Some people just feel that. It's impossible, surely it's impossible for anybody to stick pins in a doll and for that person to take on a painful condition. I find that hard to believe. But what if? What if? Now, a lot of the curses that you've heard today may, of course, as I said a moment ago, natural explanations, coincidences even. But again, we could argue, what is a coincidence? What is a coincidence? Was it something, is a coincidence something that was meant to be? Can objects, haunted chairs, haunted aircraft really be true? Do we think so? For me, personally, as a researcher, absolutely yes. My God, yes, for sure. There is some paranormal mechanism behind some of the stuff I've been talking about today, be it a chair or an automobile. Is this some form of psychic energy, like psychometry? You can go and see a psychic, and you hold this coin or this ribbon. I get a gentleman about 64, he'll tell you about it just by holding a very object. So can the very fabric of haunted chairs be somebody's favourite chair? He's dead now, but if you're psychically aware, you go, Christ, there's somebody sitting in that chair. If you're psychically attuned to that, you'll see that. So, in closing, some or many psychic mediums can indeed pick up and tune into impressions surrounding an item. Is this some kind of psychometry? The haunted chairs, etc., you're picking up that. Maybe those who have passed on might not want to leave their favourite chair or car They loved it in life, and now they love it in death. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and anybody that's not quite sure, what about this? The world is a strange place, so please be careful how you go. I'd like to thank you, each and every one of you, for your presence here today. And just before you start clapping, keep it up there, do come along to the Mercury Hotel in Livingston, August the 6th. I'm talking about Scotland's most famous UFO case, the Deckham Woods UFO incident. £10, tickets are on sale at the back. That's me done. Now you can clap. Sorry. That's terrible.